There's something wrong with Frasers Ridge. Not something you can see, not something you can touch, but something you can feel. A silence that lingers too long, a tension that never quite leaves. And in this episode of Outlander, that feeling finally turns into something real. It starts with Claire. She wakes before dawn, heart racing, hands shaking, not from a nightmare, but from a feeling she can't explain. Something is coming. And for a woman who has seen centuries of pain, war, and death, that instinct is never wrong. Jamie tries to dismiss it at first. The Ridge has survived worse. War, hunger, loss. But even he can't ignore what's changing. The people are restless, uneasy. Whispers travel faster than truth. And fear. Fear is spreading. A child goes missing. No signs of struggle. No footprints. Just gone. And suddenly, the Ridge is no longer a home, it's a place of suspicion. Neighbors begin to look at each other differently. Questions start to rise. Who can you trust when danger doesn't come from the outside, but might already be among you? Claire throws herself into finding answers. Logic, medicine, evidence. That's how she survives chaos. But this time nothing makes sense. Because this isn't illness. This isn't war. This is something far more unpredictable. Human fear. Meanwhile, Jamie begins to take control. Not as a husband, not as a farmer, but as a leader. A protector. And that means making decisions no one wants to make. Curfews. Search parties. Interrogations. Because if there's one thing Jamie Fraser understands, it's that hesitation gets people killed. And then they find something. Not the child, but a clue. Buried deep in the woods. A piece of clothing. Torn. Blood-stained. Left behind like a message. And in that moment everything changes. Panic takes over the Ridge. Some want to run, some want revenge, and some start pointing fingers. Old grudges resurface. Secrets begin to slip, because fear has a way of exposing what people try to hide. Claire sees it happening. The collapse of trust, the unraveling of everything they built. And she realizes something terrifying. This might not be something they can fix, because you can heal a wound but you can't heal a community. That's turning against itself. At the same time, far from the Ridge, William faces his own battle, not with enemies but with identity. A truth he's been avoiding, one that refuses to stay buried. And when he finally confronts it, it shakes him to his core. Because the man he thought he was might not exist at all. But this time nothing makes sense. Because this isn't illness. This isn't war. This is something far more unpredictable. There are deaths you can prepare for. And then there are the ones that come without warning, that rip through your life so violently. They leave nothing behind but silence. Frasers Ridge was supposed to be different. A place where people could start again. Where the past couldn't reach them. But that was a lie. Because no matter how far you run, suffering always finds you. It begins with a mistake. A small one. The kind no one notices at first. A child wanders too far. A moment of distraction. A single second where no one is watching. And that's all it takes. When they realize the child is gone, the air changes. Not panic. Something worse. Because deep down they already know. The search begins immediately. Voices calling into the trees. Feet tearing through the undergrowth. Hope still clinging, fragile, desperate. The forest doesn't answer. It never does. Claire feels it before they find anything. That cold, sinking weight in her chest. The same feeling she's had before every death she couldn't stop. And she hates it, because it means she's already too late. When they finally find the body, no one speaks. No one moves. Because what's left doesn't feel real. Claire drops to her knees anyway. Hands trembling. Mind racing, trying to fix something that cannot be fixed. Because if she stops trying, then she has to accept the truth. And the truth is, this wasn't preventable. Jamie arrives moments later, and for a man who has seen war, who has walked through fields of the dead, nothing prepares him for this. Because this isn't a soldier. This isn't an enemy. This is someone he was supposed to protect. And he failed. The grief doesn't come all at once. It creeps in slowly. In the way people stop speaking to each other. In the way eyes avoid meeting. In the way the Ridge goes quiet. But grief isn't the worst part. Fear is. Because now everyone is asking the same question. If it could happen once, what's stopping it from happening again? And that's when the accusations begin. Quiet at first. Whispers behind closed doors. But whispers don't stay hidden for long. Someone must be responsible. Someone must be blamed. Because the alternative, that this world is simply cruel and uncontrollable, is too much to bear. Jamie tries to hold it together. To keep order. To keep people from turning on each other. But even he can feel it slipping. Control is an illusion. And it's breaking right in his hands. Claire sees it too. Not just the grief, but the damage it's doing to people. The way pain twists into anger. The way fear turns into suspicion. The way a community begins to eat itself alive. And for the first time she doesn't know how to stop. Far from the Ridge, William is fighting a different kind of war. One without blood but just as destructive. The truth about who he really is. has been buried for too long, and now it's rising to the surface. He tries to ignore it, to outrun it, but truth has a way of catching up, and when it does, it doesn't just hurt, it destroys. Because identity isn't just who you are, it's what you believe, what you stand on. And when that foundation cracks, everything falls with it. Back at the ridge, night brings no comfort, only nightmares. No one sleeps. Every sound feels like a warning. Every shadow feels like a threat. And the silence, that unbearable silence, feels heavier than any scream. Until finally someone breaks. A confrontation, anger spilling over, blame turned into violence. And in a single moment, the ridge crosses a line it can never come back from. Because once people start turning on each other, there's no easy way back. By morning, nothing feels the same. Not the land, not the people, not even Jamie and Claire. Because this time it's not just loss, it's something deeper. It's the realization that no matter how hard they fight, no matter how much they sacrifice, they cannot protect everyone. And some wounds don't heal. They stay, they rot, they change you forever. Because this isn't just the story of survival anymore. There is a silence that doesn't bring peace. A silence that comes after something has been taken, something that cannot be returned. That silence has fallen over Frasers Ridge, and this time, it feels different, heavier, final. This was supposed to be a place of safety, a place where Jamie and Claire could build something untouched by war, untouched by the past. But the truth is far more cruel. The past doesn't need to follow you. It waits patient and seen until the moment you feel safe enough to forget it exists. And when it finally comes for you, it doesn't knock. It begins with something small, a moment no one notices, a child laughing, running just a little too far, stepping beyond the invisible line that once meant protection. And then nothing. No scream, no warning, just absence. The kind that settles into your bones before your mind can even understand it. The search begins with hope, but hope fades quickly when the forest refuses to answer. Voices grow louder, more desperate, but the deeper they go, the more the silence pushes back, until finally, they find what they were never meant to see. And in that moment, everything breaks. Claire feels it before she even touches the body. That cold, unbearable certainty that there is nothing left to save. Her hands, the same hands that have fought death time and time again, begin to tremble, not from fear but from knowing that this is one battle she cannot. And that is where the real damage begins. Because grief does not explode, it spreads quietly, in the spaces between words, in the way people stop looking at each other, in the way every shadow suddenly feels like a threat. The ridge begins to change, not from what was taken but from what it leaves behind. Fear that it could happen again. Fear that no one is truly safe. And fear like that doesn't stay contained. It turns, it twists, it looks for something to hold on to, someone to blame. The whispers begin softly, but they don't stay that way. Questions become accusations. Doubt becomes anger. And before anyone realizes what's happening, the ridge is no longer united. It's divided, cracking under the weight of its own fear. Jamie tries to hold it together, but even he can feel control slipping through his fingers. Because you cannot fight something you cannot see, and you cannot protect people from themselves. Claire watches it all unfold, and for the first time, she doesn't have an answer. No medicine, no logic, no way to stop what's coming. Because this isn't about survival anymore. It's about what happens after, when people begin to break. Far from the ridge, another truth is rising. One buried deep, hidden for years, waiting for the right moment to surface. And when it does, it doesn't bring clarity, it brings destruction. Because some truths are not meant to heal. They are meant to unravel everything you thought you understood about yourself. Back at the ridge, night falls, but there is no rest, no peace. Only the sound of breathing in the dark, of hearts refusing to slow down. Every noise feels like a warning. Every second stretches too long, until finally something snaps. A voice raised too high, a shove that goes too far. And in a single moment, grief turns into something else. Something violent, something irreversible. By morning, nothing is the same. Not the land, not the people, not Jamie, not Claire. Because this time, it isn't just about what they've lost. It's about what that loss has turned them into. And the most terrifying part of all is realizing that this is only the beginning.